This morning, an alarm pulled you out of sleep. You didn't choose the time. A schedule did. You checked a clock, answered to a calendar, and traded most of your daylight hours for money you'll spend on a life you barely have time to live. This feels normal. But the real answer to why your days look like this is far stranger than you think. For almost all of human existence, there was no such thing as a job. No boss, no shift, no Monday. For roughly 300,000 years, your ancestors woke with no list of tasks, no manager counting their hours, no number attached to their worth. And yet, they survived. So what did they do all day? You've probably been handed an answer. You picture a grind, a short, brutal life spent clawing for every scrap of food and dying young. The philosopher Thomas Hobbes gave this image its words. He called early human life solitary, poor, nasty, brutish, and short. For centuries, almost everyone believed it. But what if that story is almost completely wrong? In the 1960s, an anthropologist named Richard Lee went to live among the Jew/Huanzi hunter-gatherers in the Kalahari Desert. He didn't want to guess how ancient people lived. He wanted to measure it. He followed them. He timed them. He counted the hours they spent finding food. And what he found broke the story everyone had been telling. They spent only about 15 to 20 hours a week getting food. Read that again. 15 to 20 hours. A week. Not endless struggle, but 2 or 3 days of effort, with the rest of the time left wide open. Open for what? Resting, talking, visiting relatives, playing games, telling stories deep into the night. Your ancestors were not trapped on a treadmill of survival. They had something you spend your whole life chasing. They had time. The anthropologist Marshall Salins gave this a name that still unsettles people. He called hunter-gatherers the original affluent society. Affluent. Not because they had wealth, but because they had enough. Their wants were few, their needs were simple, and the land usually provided. There are two roads to affluence. You can produce a great deal, or you can desire very little. Modern life took the first road. Your ancestors had walked the second one for 250,000 years. Their lives were not soft. Children died. A long drought was a real threat. But on an ordinary day, your ancestors had more free time than almost anyone alive today. And the work they did was not walled off from the rest of life. A hunt was also a conversation. Gathering was also a walk with friends. Making a tool was also teaching a child. When did you last have an afternoon that belonged entirely to you? The anthropologist James Sussman, who lived among these same peoples, noticed something startling. They worked to meet the needs of the moment, and then they simply stopped. There was no itch to pile up more than they could use. When a hunter brought down a large animal, the meat was shared across the whole camp, so no one could hoard it and rise above the rest. Success was not a ladder to climb. It was a thing to give away. So what changed? The answer has a name, and the name is farming. Around 12,000 years ago, humans began to plant seeds and stay in one place to tend them. A field has to be guarded, a harvest has to be stored, and stored grain can be measured, owned, and taken. For the first time, a person could possess far more than they needed. This is the quiet twist of your entire history. The thing that made civilization possible may also be the thing that took your time away. Farming fed more people and built cities and kings and armies. But it also invented the idea that a human being must earn the right to exist. Your alarm clock is the distant echo of that first stored field of grain. Now look at your own day with new eyes. You wake to a schedule you did not write. You spend your sharpest hours producing things you'll never use, for a system larger than any face you'll ever know. And when the work is done, you try to relax, and you can't quite remember how. That feeling has a history. You are not lazy when you long for an open afternoon. You are not broken when a slow morning feels like the most human thing in the world. You are remembering something 300,000 years deep. For nearly all of human time, your ancestors woke without an alarm, gathered what the day required, shared what they had, and let the rest of the hours belong to them. They were not waiting for the weekend. The weekend was most of their life. So tomorrow, when an alarm pulls you out of sleep and a schedule decides your hours, remember this. It was not always this way, and some quiet ancient part of you has never stopped knowing it.